Maria asked me to talk a little bit about Sami food and so on. So I will, talk a little bit about that and what we do and so on. And then then we can continue to talk. You can have questions and so on. And like she said, some of you I have met here. I have a tourist company together with my husband that we mainly do horseback riding, also like snowmobiling, other activities, and we also are doing then some cooking classes, and that we haven't done from the beginning, but we have started because it's like food and cooking and Sami culture is something which is very central for us, and food is very important. So that was just a natural way of continuing what we do in the company. So I will show you some pictures and talk, and then we will see. You can interrupt me, or we'll see. You see what I see when I mostly see this when I look out from my windows. Here we are. Some of you have been in Kiruna, but I guess not everyone. So here we have the highest peak in Sweden, Kebnekaise. It is in that area we are living, and also do a lot of our tours. So you almost see on the picture here, which is a highest peak. Kebnekaise, that means a top which has a pot in it. So the one who made the maps once, they put the name on the wrong mountain. So that is not the mountain which is Kebnekaise for Sami people. So Kebnekaise is another one which is a little bit south of that, which looks like a top on, top with an pot in. So Bassevarre is a real Sami name for Kebnekaise, which means the holy mountain. And all of the names in this area is, of course, Sami names. Then when you come closer to Kiruna, south of Kiruna and so on, where then came Finnish-speaking people, then there can be Finnish names also. And then when the Swedish-speaking people came, then 120 years ago or something like that, then it also started to come in some Swedish names. And like that, it looks in the summer. Here you see the real Kebnekaise better, which is on the left side of what today is Kebnekaise. So like I said, we mostly do horseback riding. Horseback riding is not a typical traditional Sami thing. So we are both Sami, me and my husband, but we don't daily work with reindeer herding in that way. So we are not daily out with a reindeer. We have, like it works for many of us who have reindeer, but not daily working with reindeer herding. We have relatives taking care of our animals, and then we help our relatives in that job. So that's very common. It is like that. My husband, he is daily working with reindeer herding, but in another way, because he's a chairman of all of the Sami communities in Sweden. And here, that some of you have probably heard, we don't talk about 4 seasons like we normally do in Sweden, because we have more seasons than that. We have 8 seasons, and the 8 seasons have them different names, because it's so big variations in how it is during the different seasons. So it's not enough with 4 seasons here. Some of you have probably seen Northern Lights. This is what I see from my the window at home. This area is very, popular for tourists going to see Northern Lights. There's a lot of stories. Sami people have a lot of stories about the Northern Lights and how it is and why it is and how you should behave when it's Northern Lights and so on. So this is a little bit earlier this winter. So Sápmi, I guess that all of you have some idea. I take it just a little bit here. What we call Sápmi. It's a traditional area where Sami people are living, have been for a very long time. And it is Norway, Sweden, Finland, and part of Russia. And that is what we call Sápmi. And in this area, we have different languages, and people have been quite separated from each other. So the languages and dialects, they are quite different also. So I can't really understand all of the dialects or languages in Sápmi. I can a little bit follow, but not really have a conversations in all of them. What I didn't tell you when I was talking about myself also, that now I've been in the tourist business for quite a long time, almost 30 years. But from the beginning, I am a handicraft teacher and been working a lot with some handicraft, and also a teacher in some language. So it's a lot more to say about this this area. When you talk about tourism, they often talk about Finnish Lapland or Swedish Lapland or like that, but that we would never call it. We call it Sápmi. That's a traditional area of Sami people. Okay, and the Sami communities in Sweden, they are very important for our traditions, our life, our culture, everything which has to do with Sami. But the communities, they are doing reindeer herding, and you have different communities in Sweden. You have both the ones which are more in the mountains, the ones which are more in the forest, and then you also have close to the Finnish border, you have like communities which they are allowed to have reindeer herding, but that's for also for people who are non-Sami. So you have around 50 communities in Sweden. So this is like the half part of Sweden, I would say. And the community is doing then reindeer herding, is allowed to has in a certain area. where you are allowed to have your reindeer, and also you have members in the community. I can probably speak some days about this, but I take it very shortly, and then you can ask me more later on if you are interested. And if you talk about Sami in general in Sweden, now I talk about Sweden, then a lot of Sami people are not belonging to any Sami community also. So there are a lot of people who have traditionally not been working with reindeer. And there are extremely lot of threats with reindeer herding and for the Sami communities. So that is what we talk about around the table every day, especially because my husband is working with that kind of threats every day, fighting against everyone. It can be the mining companies. This morning we were sitting around here talking about the ones who own all of the electrical serving all of the electrical fire, the network for whole Sweden, have to fight against them. It is against the military. It is against, for building new roads. It's the forestry companies, etc., etc. You can say there are very many of them. So, and reindeer, that's very important. And you have the autumn, summer or autumn is a harvest period here. But for mostly autumn, early winter is a time when you also slaughter reindeer. So reindeer is something which is giving us everything, giving us food, but it also like the fur and material for handicraft and so on. So now when we talk about food, so then we use everything from the reindeer. Intestines we use on this picture. Here we are using the reindeer blood. We use the reindeer blood for quite a lot of things. Here is the blood pancakes, but blood dumplings and other things. You also dry blood if you need to use it in the summer, for example. And then you use you do blood sausages, for example. And fire, it's extremely important with fire, and different fires for different what you are going to use them for. So I know exactly what kind of fire I want to have when I'm cooking, for example, or when I do a fire up in the mountains, depending on where I am, if I'm above the tree line or if I'm somewhere depending on what kind of firewood you have also. So a scout fire is something I hate. That kind of with the top. That is, it's not very useful. That is that kind of fire you normally learn to do when you people who have been scouts. So, and of course, then you do a lot with the meat, preservation, for preserved meat. We have mostly used to, yeah, of course, used salt and also smoked meat and also dry. So a little bit depending on where you are. In this area, we always smoke the meat and then dry it. That one you use for the summer, the dry reindeer meat. In some areas, they don't smoke it, just dry it. And on this picture, you have them dried, smoked, salted, smoked and dried reindeer meat. And there to the right, you have a sausage made of reindeer, minced reindeer meat and fat and salt, which is put in intestines often. Today it can be done a little bit another way also. And then also, that's also dried. Here you also see in the picture a few of the handicrafts. So everything which is today done, it's most of it has like a traditional use. So it's the cup which is here, that is how the cups have been looking, and then they are made from birch. It's growing out if you have a sickness on the birch, which is growing like a knot, and that we do the cups from. And also for storing butter, some of them. It's a little bit loud, my friends here. If someone can take care of my barking herding dog here. Okay, so here we have some Sami handicraft. And there are some more Sami cups. The shape you have on the plastic ones today, with everyone use for outdoor life. They come from the shape from the Sami, from the cup. And you also have here salkor, which you have in former days stored salt. And also nappy, which is the one you use for milking reindeer. And then there are some more things which store other things in. So birch is important. Use antlers from reindeer really a lot. And skin, of course, of reindeer, prepared skin. I'll see what we have on these pictures more, with more material. You use the bark to make the patterns, knife, and then you color it with bark. Knife to do the patterns. So these things, which is now made for more, maybe not that much used today, but beautiful things, really good handicraft, and many of you have met also people who are doing handicraft. You have quite a short growing season here. So for nomadic people, you have not been growing things. You have used what the nature is giving you. So this plant is and have been very important, like the C vitamin source, and also for preserving and so on. That's the sour leaves. We use it today also, and we use it today also a little bit, maybe in more other way, more modern way. So then you have to use everything in the nature when you don't grow things. Berries have also been very important. Here are cloudberries and lingonberries. I would say cloudberries, lingonberries, and blueberries. That is the 3 berries which is mostly being used. C vitamin source also. Milk products. The reindeer milk in former days, we were milking the reindeer. Then when we didn't really needed to do that anymore, then we let the cows also got all of the milk, and it's been a time where Sami people have had goats also, and a special kind of goats, which they are quite rare today. And then it's also used cow milk when some people got more in contact with cows, and had also a special kind of cow, a smaller mountain cow. So today, when we do coffee cheese, we use mostly then cow. But it has been done also with reindeer and goat. Reindeer.
Would you like to say something about coffee cheese? It might be a rather unusual combination for many people, that coffee and cheese are combined in one word.
Yeah. It is...
on this question of the 8 seasons, like if anyone else knows what these different seasons are, how they are kind of structured, what is the different seasonal
Just thinking, like in the English calendar, there's also more seasons. They've just got lost. There's like they change every 6 weeks. There's always like the season, and then in between the equinoxes is another season. I mean, I want to look this up anyway, but it's also language that got lost here. There's still words for it, like llamas, but yeah, it's to do with agricultural calendar. But it had more words.
In Gaelic, there are also, like in Irish, you have it as well, still in the language, I think. Yeah, I just mean that I would be curious to know that in the Sami context, what these seasons. If someone else knows.
What I know is that they are like 4 known seasons, like typical for many people, but also those that are in between, like fall, summer, at least how they translate it in English. I don't know the Sami words, of course, but this is what I know.
I mean, this is Kerstin's day of presentation, but I can say something about it. We have like 8 seasons, as someone said, and I think why we name them is because they, in the traditions, were very connected to different things that you were doing, and how the seasons affected you in the daily life, and the reindeer, and the what was growing, and so on. So I don't really have all of the Sami name, but we have like winter, and then spring, winter, and then early summer, and summer, and late summer, and Easter, autumn, and pre-winter, you can say. So it's grouped, and when you are doing, for example, the reindeer calf is born in May, it's in the pre-summer, and in the, I'm not a handicraft maker, but I know they have seasons for when they're taking the roots up from the ground to make handicraft of root. So that happen in a special season. I think it's in the early summer, and so it goes on. And for example, when we're talking about meat, this time of the year, it's very dry air, cold, still -degrees and cold. And this is like now we're coming into the late spring, winter, spring. And then you have that air. So it's important to know things. But now I think Kerstin is back.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria, and welcome back, Kerstin.
So really sorry, but Victoria have done a good work, I guess. So did she
No,
tell you about
Kerstin,
the coffee cheese?
No. I did really not want to take like your place, so I have been very laid back. We were just talking about the 8 seasons. I have said nothing more.
Okay. Yeah, the coffee cheese. It looks it's a strange word, but we put cheese in the coffee, and that is it's a little bit instead of milk also, and you get a very nice. You let the pieces of cheese be in the coffee for a while, and then you eat the cheese, and it gets a very nice taste of a little bit of coffee. Here on the picture, I have I still use my grandfather's old, I don't know the English word for it, where you make cheese, which he made. So that also gives you a connection to the generations before. Fish, of course, is and have been very important. Different kind of fish. Here is you have Arctic char, but other fish also like whitefish and grayling and so on. And with cooking, we do it often very simple. When you have good ingredients, you don't need to do that much more than put salt in the food, and then that's it. So you don't need to add that much other things. It gets more rare with the Arctic char now because of the climate changing. It's getting warmer, the water is getting warmer, and the Arctic char wants to have very cold water. So it's getting less of that. Moose is important also, the meat and the moose hunting. So that is also done in the autumn. And the moose is giving a little bit more meat than reindeer. For if you aren't that used to gamey meat, then you maybe don't feel that much difference between moose and reindeer. We do, but they are a little bit like each other. So here is my last picture, and today we do both traditional food like we have always done, but it's also creating new recipes and used the ingredients in a more modern way. So that's nice to see what more you can do with all of the good food we have here. I will then end there, and then yeah, you can ask, or yeah, whatever.
Thank you so much, Kerstin. Lots of things to follow up on. Just a quick comment from my side. You mentioned the moose, and that's something to take into consideration when you live and work in Kiruna, that the moose hunting season, which is primarily September usually, is a time when you cannot arrange things or book things the way you usually do, because a high percentage of the male population in particular will not be working. They will be taking vacation to go hunting. And it's not only in Kiruna, it's in other parts of Sweden too. But this is the first time that I have really understood that we have to think about this period in a special way.
I had a question for Kerstin. Is it okay? Thank you. Your last image was very interesting, and I haven't had breakfast, so I got very hungry. Could you maybe describe a traditional recipe and a kind of what you call like a new kind of future innovative recipe? Could you quickly describe two?
Yeah, I just now got in mind like how I've grown up with using sour leaves to eat it, to boil it, and to eat it with milk and sugar, like a dessert that we always had. We were picking that and always had that at home. And now I maybe also use it like I use it today to make, for example, a sauce to fish, which is very good, where you have sour leaves, you have onion, you have some bouillon, you have some cream, and you get a very good taste in the sauce from the sour leaves. That was one example. Or meat traditionally after we have slaughtered, the day we slaughter, or the day after, then we do a big like cooking of reindeer meat. We do blood dumplings, we do blood sausages, we cook the liver, etc. We can have the kidneys, for example. But then you can also use it like you do in a restaurant with reindeer meat and with some sauce and something like that. Yeah. So, I would Victoria, who is have been doing the book, can maybe give some other example of some new recipe.
I write it in for my lesson in 8th of May. So I want us to spend this time to listen to you, because I think it will come up totally different things. So I have it on my list what to talk about in the 8th of May.
But thank you, Kerstin, for mentioning that the book that you showed in your last picture was actually written by you, Victoria. So
yeah. But I also will say about that book, we like did collect knowledge from the whole of Sápmi. So I'm not like an expert on recepts and things. I was just writing it down. So we have a lot of information, but it's not my knowledge. It's from the whole of Sápmi. That is very beautiful, I think.
Yeah, it's also done some other books about Sami cooking from different parts and from different people who are good at cooking. So that's very nice that it comes also out in books, because yeah, in former days we shared all of the knowledge just in a yeah, we did telling stories and so on. But today it's need to be done in another way also.
That was one of the things we were like struggling with, what to tell and what to not tell, because people want to sort of keep their secrets, but it's also important to get out with knowledge and to like put the agenda yourself of how you want to present it and so, and it's important that people feel comfortable by like getting out their culture. And the culture is so different in different places, like in Kiruna and in south of Sapmi. Everyone have their own family story. The base is sort of the same, but you have different herbs and you have different family situations and so on.
And that is also one of the really big reasons some of our Sami people are working in the tourism business, because that is a way to share our knowledge and get people to get to know the right information and not the wrong information they otherwise get.
I have a question, and first of all, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, really important and interesting. And what I met the first time in my life, that you said that you have different types of fire. Or does it have? Do they have only practical meaning? You use different fire for different cooking, or also it has kind of spiritual meanings, or do you have any fairy tales or stories about it? It's very interesting for me.
I'm not expert of that. For me, it has more practical reasons, but also how you are taught to do fires, what you're not allowed to do, and what you are what allowed, but how you should do and how you shouldn't do. That is like a fire needs to look very nice. You can't just put firewood, for example. However, you need to have it clean and in this order, and you do it in, you look at how the wind is going before you do a fire. But that is also like it can be some places in the nature where it's a little bit hard to make a fire if you are on a place where you are a little bit disturbing the ones which are living there under the ground. They don't really let you do a fire, or they don't let you maybe don't let you stay there. Then you should go somewhere else to have a rest or making a fire. And then of course some people are more sensitive for that kind of feelings and that connections with the ones living under there than others. Yeah. So
Kerstin, I guess you can tell us a little about a fire. What is the different if you are going to bake a traditional bread, a gahko, and or if you are going to smoke or have it for something else?
yeah, when we smoke meat, for example, then you have to in Sami tradition you cold smoke meat. You don't warm smoke it. In a lot of cultures, I think you warm smoke meat. Today, if you buy smoken ham in the store, it's not even smoked. It's just they put something into it. But it's cold smoked meat, and it's very important that you don't get a warm fire. So you just use fresh firewood, and you mostly use willow. If you have bigger pieces of that, and you need to take the bark away. But that is also a little bit depending on where you are. But in our area, we use willow. We can maybe in the end use a little bit of birch, but you have to be very careful with birch because it can get a sticky taste out of it. And you have just a fire which is giving just smoke. You sometimes need to almost cover have a cover above the fire so it doesn't get too warm. And then, for example, if I'm doing then bread, garko, like Victoria said, then you have to have a fire with very dry, which you usually have a fire with very dry birch wood, a flat fire also. Depending on where you do the garko, if you are outside, you can also do it on flat stone against the fire. But for cooking, you often need a flat fire. So I try to teach the ones who are working with me how to make a fire where you have a head and so on, and that you are always building the fire in the right direction and so on. But there are other kind of fires also, a lot of other kind of fires.
I have a questions about bread traditions. What bread traditions are there? I know flatbread is common here in northern Sweden, but is that original from Sapmi culture, or is it?
I think they're in the area where you are. You also have the thin flatbread.
Yes.
Yeah, very thin and hard flatbread. That is more a Swedish tradition from the north. But we haven't had hard bread. And that, of course, nomadic people moving around, you don't want to have hard bread then. But today it's mostly two kind of breads, both flat bread. You have one more quicker one, garko, which is thinner, and that you can also bake over the fire, like I said, on flat stones or on a pan or whatever inside also. But that doesn't last for that long time. If you are like have it in the backpack or need to have it for several days or some weeks or whatever, then you need to have another bread which is more chewing that you make in the oven, which is a little bit thicker. Yeah, so that is the most common bread.
Okay. How about the use of bark bread that where you use?
Today you don't really use the bark. You did before. The bark from fir trees, bark that you did. Today you do it more for, I think, more for teaching how it was and that, because it's a lot of job. You have maybe seen or tried how to do it. So to collect bark for making bread, it is a lot of job.
And what was the flour produced in around those areas, Kiruna originally also? Or?
It's been a lot in this area. It's been a lot of trading. You have had very much connections also with Norway. So often you did like you got flour, salt, and so on from Norway, and then you gave meat, for example, back.
Okay,
so it's been trading, yeah. So, but before that, you didn't, because you are not able to grow really here.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
How flour. Thank you.
Kerstin, two questions. The first one, what is the name of the thicker bread? And secondly, if I remember correctly, bread is a relatively new addition to the Sami diet for the exact reasons that you just discussed. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong.
Garko is a thinner one, and Laipi, the thicker one, in my dialect in North Sami. Yeah, so bread like it is today with flour, that is newer. Yeah, not really new, but newer. Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit about the bread made from the bark of the tree? I didn't know about this. This is amazing. What kind of tree did you say it was? And is it like not the heartwood, but is it the kind of external part of the tree?
Like the inner bark of the fir tree.
Of the fir tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so not the outside. What is that process? You said it's quite a complicated process.
I have tried to do it, but I'm not an expert at that also. But you know, you need to you take it, and then you need also to have a so you like, how can you say it, roast it or over a fire, so you get so and you don't get that much out of it.
And then you grind it?
Yeah. So yeah, it is takes a while.
And does it have any raising or fermenting as part of the process?
No, not really.
It's like a kind of pancake, a fir bark pancake thing.
Yeah, but because I haven't done bread out of it, just the process before.
Interesting. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So historically, you would mix bark in the bread across Sweden during hard times, during famines, etc. And I think, you know, there was quite a famine in the early 20th century, particularly in the north, like 1903, 04, 05. I think it happened also then. And there was a big famine in Sweden in the late 1860s when we got foreign aid to the starving Swedish people, for instance, from Russia. And then for sure, bark bread was used.
It's good. Tastes good.
I had a question. I don't know if it's possible to ask or. Thanks a lot, Kerstin. Super interesting. I was wondering about the two questions. One is relating the different food processing that you mentioned and how that is related with the legislation that applies. In the sense that if, as indigenous peoples, you have a space to determine health and safety or other domestic processing, here, the EU is quite, as you know, on top of controlling and at the end preventing many farm household processing. We managed to tweak a little bit the use legislation for artisan cheese making, but otherwise the industrial standards prevail. And actually, for example, pork slaughtering that is traditional also here in our place. It's a kind of, how to say, you have to do it in a subversive way almost. I wonder how it works there, one question. And then the other is if you are experimenting or you know any experience among Sami communities for, let's say, tailored services to extensive reindeer herding, like and nomadic mobility patterns. We are testing here a mobile dairy, so it can go with the animals. And I wonder if you have any knowledge about mobile slaughterhouse or other services according to the need, no, of not having to settle the herds. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. If I now understood you right, the last question about mobile slaughteries, we have had it, but I'm not sure really about the regulations, and that my husband would probably know more about. But today we have to send all of the animals to slaughterhouses, but it was much better with the mobile ones, because then you don't need to transport the animals. But I think it has something to do with regulations, but I'm not really know, because it doesn't always feel that good to transport the animals to slaughterers when we slaughter it ourselves, when we slaughter directly.
I
So
had
that it's much better for the animal.
I had in South Sweden, I had slaughtering on farm. They come to the farm, but they are then certified, so they have equipment that is kind of okayed for that. And the tricky part of that is not the slaughtering so much, but how you butcher, like the butchering part after. If you want to circulate it for trade, for example, then you need that certified butchering mobile unit. So
Can I
that's
also say
sweet.
something?
Sure.
Yeah, please, Sosa.
Sorry, that was just.
I don't wanted to interrupt you, Åsa. Did you have something more to say?
No. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. I would love to say that in the 80s, 90s, I think that was the time when the mobile slaughtering was biggest. Can be some difference around the Sápmi area. And they did a part of the slaughtering, like took the fudge, skin and the inner parts away, and then they took like the whole bodies to the small pieces slaughterhouse in ordinary places. I don't really know why that is not so usual today. I think also it have with laws and hygienic aspects to do. But I did read in a book about how things has been. It was a wonderful story about because those mobile things were driven out to the corrals where you had the reindeers together and took out the slaughter animals. And on one very far away place, this slaughter truck, but this happened only one time, what I could understand. They took it over a sea on a ferry, a big boat that were driven out in the mountain area, and that slaughter truck could do the job there. But I think it was a quite risky business because it was some waves, so it could have ended up in a very chaotic situation. But it was fun to see their innovation.
Thank you so much. Just to maybe specify more the question, and do you know if finally there is a regime that has been of self-governing regarding food processing, or are you under national or EU law on this?
Unfortunately, we are under EU law, yeah. So it is difficult because reindeer herding is very far away from farming. So yeah, that makes things complicated, and you maybe need to do things in another way than you would want to do.
Yeah, it's a big waste of traditional knowledge and a big waste of parts of the reindeer that is throwing away because of the laws and things and industrial slaughtering. But I will talk a little about that in May. I would also add a little piece of the story about the truck on the water, that till to that day they had been killed the reindeer on one side of the sea, and then they had to transport in small open boats the reindeer, so many they could take in their small boats. So of course they thought it was a great idea to instead take the truck over to the other side of the lake. But today, unfortunately, that place is not used anymore because it's not effective. So, and then you come into that was Kerstin said, then you have to transport the reindeer instead. You have to take them to another corral that is closer to a road, and take them living in a truck to the slaughterhouse. And of course, when you need to do that, it also affects the traditional way of living, because in this time of the year when you do that slaughtering, the natural place for those reindeer was in the very first place where the first corral was. So it actually would have been better for the reindeer to be in that area. But now, because of the slaughtering process, you have to take them to the other place closer to the road, and then transport them to a permanent slaughterhouse. Thank you.
I think you had another question, the first question. I have already forgot that, sorry. Fernando.
No, I think that all has been responded. Thank you. I had another one about the question of the cheese and the coffee, but we can't leave it.
Oh yeah.
Because I imagine that's pretty recent, no? Like, I guess it's from the 70s, 80s, when instant coffee arrives more to the north.
We're asking about when it was introduced, coffee to the region.
Yeah.
Um,
It was earlier than that, coffee.
Yeah, the coffee was introduced earlier than that, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly when. It's like coffee has always been important, like have been important, very important here. But I can't really say. I think you, Maria, have. How she disappeared. Have looked at that. I think we have talked about that earlier. But that is also a trade for during the trading you have been getting coffee, giving some meat back. Or
Yeah, so coffee came to Northern Europe basically more than just small exotic portions in the early 18th century. That's when it became like, in the 18th century, that's when it became a popular and relatively affordable drink.
Yeah. And traded and moved easily. Yeah. Oh, Asa.
Yeah, I had a question that relates a little bit to what you talked about now, because I'm curious on the seasonal relation to the food, like the food, so to say, like when you slaughter, when you eat, like the way you eat in relation to the season, so to say.
Yeah, if you, yeah, for example, then meat, then you eat more of the smoked and dried meat during summer, and more fresh meat during winter. And when you smoke and dry meat, you need, depending on, but in this area, you need to do it in late April, early May, and then for drying. And then you don't eat that much smoked meat during winter because it's not necessary. And before you had freezers, then you always had the fresh meat stored under the snow that people still do today. It gets a little bit another taste out of it when you have had it under under the snow. And then you can also leave, for example, in springs, you have left like milk and sour leaves, like mix with that. That is also preservation with the sour leaves. So it's more and fish, more salted fish. If you eat fresh fish more during the summer, and then more salted fish later on. Today, when you have a freezer, is of course also different. And in some areas, especially then in Norway, where you have dried a lot of fish, you have had that also. But here we haven't dried that much fish. So it has always a practical reason what you have been eating and how you have been eating it, and so during the year. And still today, we eat it a little bit in that way also, even if we have freezers today.
And do you slaughter over a whole season? So you don't slaughter all animals at one time. You have it over the winter in different
That
times?
is also different, I guess, in different regions. But if I take the example from here, then you slaughter in September, and then you can slaughter maybe up to Christmas or something like that. But there are different kind of animals you slaughter. If you slaughter in September, you slaughter the bulls, and you have to slaughter them before they start the rotting, the mating season. So you have always to check that you have a certain date after where you are not allowed to slaughter, and you have to be a little bit careful with the bigger bulls, so you don't slaughter them too late, because then you can't eat the meat. And then if you slaughter later, like November, December, where we are when we are doing the separation of the reindeer, then you slaughter often females, because then the male animals are very thin. They have been through the mating season. So and you don't slaughter, if you slaughter later in the season, like after Christmas and so on, then you have to feed the reindeer first, because we normally don't collect them and take them into corrals. Then they are weaker then, thinner then, and after many months of because the winter is tough here. So
Thank you.
you don't slaughter like summer. If you need to slaughter in the summer, that is if a calf has broken a leg and you slaughter a calf, but that calf meat is not that good. Young calves.
Thank you. It's really interesting to know this. Yeah.
Kerstin, we're going to be meeting again in August, and we were thinking about this sort of 8 seasons, and I was wondering, when we met in November last year, we made blood pancakes and we made bread and we ate meat together. What kinds of activities if you're running a tourist business, what kinds of things do you do in August? Is it berry picking?
But we also do a little bit about the same, even if it is in August.
Okay.
Because it also has to do with what you can do on a shorter time.
It's true, yeah.
So it's not possible to do everything on a short time. So it's a little bit of what I choose, so which is possible. Yeah.
And what season will it be when we're together again in August?
Late August, then it is like in the beginning of the autumn. It's like late summer, beginning of August, or beginning of autumn.
In Indigenous Australian calendars, there are usually 6 or 7 seasons, depending on different, and there's quite a lot of work happening to revive traditional calendars and traditional names of seasons. And I went to one recently where the calendar was on the ground and all of the different activities have been sort of made into a public sculpture. It was very beautiful. And I wondered if there is a name for the season in, are there Sami names for the seasons, or are they?
That is like Kebnekaise, which is like autumn, summer, or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a calendar for your region?
You have had, we have calendar with some, we are following the normal European calendar, but you have had other calendars before, which have been in tree, or maybe also horn, but other kind of calendars, which are like sticks, or what I can call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. People have other questions? I feel like
I would have a question, but I'm not sure if it's a bit outside of the food, but it's about language. And I also I'm wondering, because there's a lot of course taken over with European rules and also with other countries. You showed this nice map. And you said, I cannot understand a lot of other Sami languages also. And then I was looking at you and Victoria, and then I thought, you have quite, for me, understandable Nordic names. And is there also nicknames you have? Or are there names that are typical Sami that still exist? Or is that also by religion taken over the names? Or I'm interested in how your ancestors had their names and how you had their names, because I see also a taking over, like also in Australia, but also in a lot of other places, that the names that were given to people are also colonizing the old cultures and the old languages. So I was interested looking at the screen and seeing you and Victoria having names that that I also know from other Nordic and even German places. So if you have knowledge there, I would be interested in that.
Yeah, but it is here like it is in other part of the world. So you probably have both, like Swedish names, or you have also Sami names. So it is both. You have people who have typical Sami names and then typical Swedish names also. So it is both. And of course it is like everywhere else that they have taken over, and the preachers have done also changed in the books the names people had before. And you had also before you also had got names after your father normally. The last name or the middle name also, so you could see who was the father and so on. So it is both here, both typical Sami names.
Can you learn us a few typical Sami names? What is
Ailo, Neila, depending on dialects also. And then they are also typical last names. They are like Sikko, Omma. Yeah, there are different ones. Yeah. So
Can I
Thank
add
you. So it's a
perspective also? I was thinking about I think it maybe wasn't in Sweden, but in Norway, the Sami people had to take Norwegian names because otherwise they couldn't be like a farmer or something. So you were actually forced to leave your own old name. And there is also a problem with we have other, what is capitals, bokstäver, that cannot be used in
Letters. The Sami alphabet has different letters.
yeah. Sami people that have used them have had problems with the passport, so they haven't been able to sign it in. So you need to like be in the Swedish system to be a part of it. And I will also say that it has been a shame. I mean, it was tough to be a Sami, so you like hide yourself behind a Swedish name. For example, my grandmother, she was called Garen, which is similar to Karin. So when she went down from the mountain in her young age, she didn't want anyone to call her Garen. She thought it was ugly and she wanted to be more like ordinary people in the city, not being pointed out. So it have a lot of layers of how it has been. And if you present yourself in a Sami situation, when you're meeting a group of other Sami or just one other Sami, it's important to tell to what family you belong to. So you often start to present yourself. I am Victoria, the daughter of Per Gunnar, who is the son of Sara Horri, that you maybe know, and then the one you meet know how to place you. And if you're also wearing your traditional clothes, the clothes is helping you to be put in a situation because people know the difference. And it also go down on family level, what kind of decorations and so on you is wearing.
thank you.
And in this area, people then, some people had to change their names because they otherwise didn't get a job in the mine or building the railway when they started here. So then they changed their name. Otherwise, if they had a Sami name, they didn't get a job. That's.
I continue on this track. My boyfriend, or what to call him, he has a Sami name and he's working in the mine, and of course he can have a job there, but everybody, because of his name, know that he's a Sami, and that can create conflicts because there are a lot of racism. So if something has happened in the society that they blame Sami people for, then he can be like confronted in the eating room just because everybody know he's a Sami. But it has also been a change in the Sami society. Many people want to take back their Sami name, so Sami is sort of taking the proudness back and taking their family names back also. So this is really a big and important question, and something that is connected to identity and to self-confidence and like a kind of resistance. Yeah.
And
it
what
is
is
tough.
what is the time that you had to give up your Sami name? Because I know I'm from the Netherlands, that here it was the time of Napoleon. People were forced to have a name, but that's already more than 200 years ago. Is it? I think Napoleon didn't came that much north, but just maybe you can
I would
give
say
a
it has
time frame for that.
It has a big connection to the rasbiology, the race, the what do you call it, that ended up with judeutrotningen i Tyskland. Och, ja, men det här får någon annan förklara.
The Holocaust. So the race biologists who were roaming the north of Sweden from the late 19th century and very intensively so in the first 3 decades of the 20th century, which then of course led to some degree to the Holocaust. The director of the infamous Swedish Institute of Race Biology at the Uppsala University was founded in 1922 by a man who was an active Nazi and a party member.
And they classified people, and you get different rights. If you were a Sami, you were like a lower level of people, so you couldn't have the same right that the higher level of people. And of course, that was a part of this that came out in different clothes in different lands and parts of the Sápmi area.
And today, with the situation which is here in the north of Sweden, with all of the industry and growing industry, it is tough. It is, you should think it's going the other way because we're 2025, but it's get tougher and tougher because of everyone wants the land for the industry, for the mining, for forestry, for whatever. And then the Sami community tries to protect the land, but then then it creates a lot of racism.
A question: how is Sápmi food culture included in among Swedish people in Kiruna? Is there a conflict there? Is there also racism there, in that sense that they look down at Sápmi food culture, or how is the relation there?
No, in like food culture or in culture or like that, how can I say that? Because in tourism or in food culture or in like the culture with music or so ever, you sell this part of Sweden on these things. So there are no conflicts, because there you have just win-win. But when it comes to the one that we say, okay, save the nature, we need the land for the reindeer, think about this and that, then it creates conflicts. So in culture, it's not really because you can sell Sweden or northern part to show a nice picture of Sami people in our costumes. And our food, you also sell it in all of the restaurants. So you win there. But then when we say like, stop, it's enough with mining, think about this and that, then we are not that popular anymore.
Okay.
You understand how, yeah, it's so in food culture is just that, okay, this is nice that we use in our restaurant.
Mm-hmm. You see, it's similar for Finland with the shepherds no, that they're romanticized, but then when they need the land for their cause or for their culture or their traditions, then it's a conflict with the modern industries or whatever. That yeah, it's bad.
When I came to Kiruna in September of 2023, I was actually surprised that there is no Sami restaurant. There seems to be a fairly big market if you, Kerstin, speak about what is selling for that. As you said, there are dishes in most restaurants influenced by Sami food culture. So for instance, the pizzerias I know, they all have sovas pizza, which is smoked reindeer meat on a particular version of a pizza. There is one restaurant which is part of Slow Food Sapmi. Sorry, I have to cough. So they're a bit more integrated into this. But again, it is noteworthy that there is no Sami-run Sami food restaurant in Kiruna. Do we have maybe some last comments, thoughts, questions?
I feel like we didn't ask you to go back to this question of threats, and I know that that would be an enormous thing to open up right now because there are so many. And even when we were there, we were talking about the ice melting and making it difficult for reindeer to find their food. And then you told us this that just the day before we were there, that the reindeer had like run towards Norway because that was where they could find food. And that there's kind of a constant sort of feeling that climate change is making it very difficult to keep practicing to practice herding. I just wonder if you want to say anything little about that. I know it's an enormous question at the very end.
It is an enormous question.
Sorry.
I can probably send it over to Victoria to continue in May. Yeah, but it is like climate changing is doing a lot, changing a lot, changing the consistency of snow, getting new kind of snow, changing the behavior of the reindeer and the climate, and makes it more difficult for reindeer, and also of course changing for other animals also. If I just look at the animals, and then you have all other threats also. So I don't know where to begin and where to stop, but like I mentioned, some of them, like in this area is mining very much now, extremely a lot now in the northern part, and all kind of mining, and the thing is that every company, they just see their own small piece. They like, but we are just going to do this here. And then you add on a map what everyone is doing, and then you have like no land, no nature left. Every centimeter here is covered with someone have the right to look for minerals, for example. And also, I think it's mostly the problem is what it's creating, the racism it's creating in the society, and because it's all over, and how the big companies are doing to get, okay, if you say yes to this, you get this money, or and then they put communities against other communities, they put people against each other, and so on. They are of course creative and smart, because they of course know the regulation and laws which are still in Sweden, even if they don't follow them, to protect indigenous people, but they don't care. And then they try in every way to come around it and to do, they are very creative in that way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kerstin. This was great. A lot of insight and food for thought for us. And we will meet again in August when the group, then Goda Maten, the Benevolent Food, will gather in Kiruna.